Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
Let me start by introducing myself. I am a retired mechanic in my late 50s. I have a very lovely wife in her mid-50s and 3 loving children who are very sweet and caring towards us. It's a close-knit family. My current wife is my second wife. So, as you understand, I have gone through a divorce much earlier in my life, and I also have a son, let's call him A, because he is the one about whom the story is all about. Me and my ex-wife divorced when our son, A, was only 4 years old. She won the whole custody of our child because I was incapable of being a present father due to my packed and busy schedule. After divorce, my then wife and A left the city and went back to where A's uncle lived. It resulted in me having 0 contact with my son. As he grew up, he always had a longing to be with his father. We reconnected with each other when A was 16 years old through Facebook. My ex-wife never had more children and also managed to become a decent earning businesswoman, for which I'm really happy about. Even though it resulted in my son being a brat and living in his own shell. As it was made clear to me, I hold no rights over my son until he's 18 and decides on his own to keep me in his life or not. As the time passed, me and my A started to grow closer to each other, and even though we held no strong bond, we couldn't dismiss the fact that we both have missed out on experiencing one mutual bond of family. So I offered him to move in with me and my family after he graduates from his school and attends the nearby college. We both knew that persuading his mom would be impossible, given the hatred that she has for me, and the worst thing for her would be me trying to be a part of my son's life, which I was forcibly removed out of. And in her terms, it would be stealing her son from her. But I was desperate to have my son little closer to me because I didn't want to regret not being father enough to my child on my deathbed. So he graduated from high school and was really stubborn about leaving his mother for college in the city I live in. It was a hell of a ride with his over-the-top protective mother, for her to grant the permission to move for the college. She agreed on a few conditions that I pay our son A's whole college tuition, and he won't be living with me but can visit as much as he wants to. And we both agreed to it then that I too agreed to pay the whole tuition as I wanted to spend some money on my son as I never got any chance to. So everything went according to the plan. He moved into a rented house in the city I live in. He even got a part-time job to sustain himself and his extra needs. And I was responsible for his tuition, so I made him agree to conditions such as 1, he would visit me regularly and at least have dinner once a week with my wife and his step-siblings. 2, he would take his studies seriously, so he wasn't allowed to have any illegal fun or crash parties or have girlfriend, because his mom and I were college sweethearts, and I would have ended up being better if I only had focused on my studies solely, and I didn't want to waste my saved, hard-earned money for nothing, and mind you, I have 3 other children I need to take care of. Everything went according to plan for all of the first 3 years, and now he has only a few months left for his finals, and then he can graduate college too. So here is where the real story begins. Yesterday, around 1 a.m. at night, my son bangs on the front door, and I can clearly remember the desperation in his voice while banging so loud. As I move closer to the door, I realize not only is he yelling, but also crying. That sight made my heart break into 2 pieces. So I hurried downstairs. I opened the door and saw A holding a baby girl of 1.5 years old. I was really shocked at first, but my first priority was calming my son down as I did. I can still recall him blurting things out like how he is sorry and his wife will murder him and everything that makes no sense to me. The little baby's identity is still unknown to us, and the first thing we do tomorrow morning is call the cops to investigate the whole thing. My son was so startled by it that he immediately passed out on the couch, and he's the one who can explain this whole mess. My older daughter and wife are taking care of the baby for tonight till we can hand her over to the cops so that they can find out who the kid belongs to. Okay, it's almost been 24 hours since I posted this, and thank you so much for reading my post and actually giving it a moment to give it your thoughts. It's been a really twist after twist and shocking situation for me. I haven't even processed everything my son informed me about the whole situation. So first, he woke up, covered in sweat, probably from a nightmare, and immediately asked for the little girl he had with him. Turns out that the child is his, and he is also married. Every bit of the story felt so unreal to me that I had to gear myself up with 2 cans of beer. So he got a girlfriend secretly in his first year of college. I'll just say as much as I'm able to process right now. So basically, according to him, he got a girlfriend in the first year of college. He tried to ignore it, but gave into his feelings and snap. To 1 year later, he got her pregnant. That young lady has had a very traumatic childhood because of her abusive parents, and she's also Catholic. So he had no choice but to keep the child and marry her. Now, his excuse for keeping it all a secret is that he didn't want me to cut his tuition money off because that's how they've been paying off many of their expenses. And if his mom finds out, she would have done everything in this world to take him back to her, leaving her poor wife and child alone, and he also mentioned not wanting to be away from me. Now, about yesterday's incidents, his poor wife, who already struggled with PTSD and depression and bipolar disorder, and topped with postpartum depression, went on a rampage of hurting herself and the child. So A tried everything he could think of and failed, then taking his last chance, he pushed his wife and took the baby and ran for my house, as I live just 15 minutes away. We have already called the cops, and they're carrying out further investigation to find out about my son's wife. So it's been almost a week. I apologize for a late update, but we're going through so much together that I have been busy. So from my last update, a lot has happened. My daughter-in-law was found unconscious the same day by some nearby bush. She had self-harmed, and when she realized what she was doing, she immediately guilt-tripped herself and ran after my son to apologize, but he was long gone by then. The cops found her, and she was immediately taken to the hospital. She's in no serious danger physically, but she'll be sent to a trauma center on her own wish, as she said that she wants to be a healthy mother to her child. She's the sweetest lady and has turned out to be a kind woman despite her rough upbringing. She also had to drop out of college to have the child. About the baby, she's the sweetest child on earth, and her step-grandma loves dressing her up, and she also takes care of her, along with my older daughter. My son says that he's guilty for all of the lying and everything and claims he did it all for the sake of his child and love. He has been a responsible man to his wife and child, and sort of a disobedient son to me, and he assures me that I won't have to pay anything more, and he will complete his studies and opt for a school loan and pay it off when he gets a better paying job. I've been considering informing his mom about all this so that she can at least help him a bit. So it's been 2 months now. Everything has fallen into place. My son is graduating this week. I informed his mom about everything, and she rushed over immediately to be by her son. This was the first time I saw her in 17 years. She has grown old and has the same resting face. She, for a change, didn't act impulsively, but sure made the demand of her daughter-in-law and granddaughter move in with her to start living a better life with her. She is mad at A. All I can say is he deserves it, at least for a while. Everything has been going well and smooth, and the son's wife has also been making progress. This will probably be the last update, and thank you everyone for your support and your love. Haha. OP, all I can say is you are the most patient and understanding father in the world, and honestly, I can feel where all this warmth is coming from. And honestly, we can't blame your son either. He did what he had to do. I know in normal circumstances that he would have been the AH, but I guess we can let him out this once. I actually am surprised by the change of behavior in OP's ex-wife's behavior. That is a hard reaction, knowing what kind of her usual behavior is. And I myself am Catholic and know what your daughter-in-law is going through, up to an extent. My prayers are with her.
Next story.
I am an 18-year-old woman, come from a rather well-off family. We aren't filthy rich, but I don't need to worry about money. I'm studying abroad, and while I don't flex money, I do admit that I may act slightly spoiled. Unlike most people in my program, I don't worry too much about budgeting, which people have noticed and have started making rather rude but subtle comments. Recently, I ended up putting my card down for a few Airbnbs and flight tickets, which everyone was expected to pay me back for. I've been asking for the money back for over a month, and 2 of them have still not paid me back. TGT, they owe me 100, 200 euros, and have come up with excuses, insist that I never said that they had to pay me back, even when there are texts confirming that they do. Our program is about to end, and while talking to my dad, he told me that he will draft legal letters and to send it to them to demand the money back. My dad owns a legal firm, so this was rather easy for him to do. Just to scare them a little. Being fed up and annoyed, I agreed to it and sent the letters. My group met up for drinks later, and they started yelling at me that I overreacted and that I'm a bitch who just uses her daddy's credit card. I snapped back, saying that they aren't entitled to the money that my dad worked hard for. The argument escalated, and they started berating me for never working a job. They continued on saying how I'll never go far with this kind of attitude. I ended up leaving with one of my friends. Everyone but the guy I left with is saying I'm TA for taking it too far, as the money they owe me won't negatively impact me. They're all still ignoring me till I apologize as well. AITA? Just wanted to clarify that someone's card needed to be put down, and we all alternate. They have paid everyone back but me, and I always pay back, ASAP. NTA, they're leeching from you. It doesn't matter if you could afford to let it slide. That's your decision to make, not theirs. Had they asked you if you could cover it for them because they can't afford it, and you had agreed and told them not to pay, then yes, you would be TA. But that's not what happened. They're also gaslighting you, trying to make you feel bad for their own actions. Unless you want people walking all over you financially, stick to your guns. NTA, let me set the record straight. Enjoying yourself and enjoying the fact that you have more money is not being spoiled. Being spoiled is when someone expects everything to conform to their standard of living. And the fact that you may be more free with your money, that's your choice. Nobody has the right to dictate how you are supposed to spend your money or your time. And even worse, no matter how much money you have or how it affects you, nobody else has any right to your funds. And even if you use daddy's credit card, that doesn't make a difference. You do not need to give them charity for an Airbnb or flight tickets. That is rude. AF.
Next story.
When I, 18, was 6 years old, I pushed my sister, 16 then, down the stairs while playing hide and seek, which caused her some physical issues with her leg. She was also diagnosed with depression afterwards, although I suspected that she had always been depressed. In the years following that, my parents had to drop all her therapists because of some poor financial decision that they made. So after my secondary school, 16, I had been working to save up for tertiary. A few weeks ago, my sister fell down. It wasn't anything serious, but they wanted to monitor her because of past trauma and wanted to make sure that things were okay. The staff also said that my sister probably needed to go for physical therapy again. My parents immediately asked me for financial help, $6,000, which to me is a lot, and I'm already enrolled, so I cannot risk not being able to afford school. I didn't say no, but I talked to the doctor, and he said that he was willing to lower the costs, and if he just charged us for the ambulance fees and the stay in the hospital, not for the night, it would be less than $3,000, my budget. I told my mother about this, and she told me that I shouldn't prioritize my education over my sister's well-being, and it was my fault that she was in this state. She blamed everything on me, the injury, the depression, and the fact that she was a useless mouth to feed despite being nearly 30. I tried to tell her about the workarounds, but she just kept at it until I blew up and told her that I felt like my sister had been depressed way before the incident and that she wasn't trying her best to get well, considering it's been more than a decade, and she's still in the same condition as back then. I said that she couldn't blame me. I was a child, and that if anything, it was both my parents' fault, that they didn't take care of us, and that if she hadn't trusted that rando with our money, we wouldn't be in this situation. After I said that, I kind of regretted it because my mother started crying. My father looked at me with disappointment. But I was in that angry state, so I said that I was moving out, and I went home to pack up. My mother has been calling. I've been ignoring her. My father called me once and told me that he was immensely disappointed and that he raised me better. I wanted to tell him that he didn't even raise me, but I kept quiet. My sister has not reached out to me, and I've not reached out to her either. Maybe it's the guilt, but my father told me that she's still utterly miserable now. I've been living with a friend and doing their housework as payment for letting me live there, and I'm grateful for my friend for not saying anything about the situation. But this is eating me alive. Am I the a-hole? NTA. Why push so much responsibility onto you? They want you, an 18-year-old, to give them $6,000 for your 30-year-old sister? Go to college. Get out while you can. I'm really sorry about this, but move out while you can. Look into your future and don't look back. Don't feel guilty for these things when it's not your fault, nor your responsibility. Get that education and get out of there. NTA. She might as well go on a jogging trip because she forgot to tie her shoelace and hold you responsible and make you pay for it because of the incident that happened when you were 6 years old. Please, if she was in her teens and being childish about it, I would understand, but please, this is an adult. Grow up. And aren't they embarrassed asking their 18-year-old son to pay $6,000 to their 30-year-old daughter? Even if it was your fault, honestly, if I was 30, my 18-year-old sibling should keep their money or max pay a small amount. Your family is toxic.